Good morning, Year 5 and Year 6. Today you would have embarked on a field trip to the National Film and Sound Archive as part of our trip to Canberra. And so if you're watching this video, it means you might be interested in Task 1. Now, Task 1 and Task 2 today are both about the National Film and Sound Archive. So it's something that Mrs. Roberts and I were interested in. So you would be choosing this activity because you might be looking at the Taste of Sounds of Australia, which is what this task is based upon. So the National Film and Sound Archive, as I'm sure you learnt today, it has a record of the really iconic and important sounds and films that form part of Australia's identity. But one really cool thing about the National Film and Sound Archive is that they have the sounds of Australia. So every year, people can put in submissions about the sounds that they think represent Australia, not just from that year, but from any year. And each year they put together a list of the sounds of Australia for that year. So the task 1 for today is based on the Taste of Sounds of Australia, which is a list that has been curated that has different sounds from different lists that they think form like a really iconic picture of Australia. So the task today asks you to go to that Taste of Sounds of Australia, and the name The Taste of Sounds of Australia implies that you're just getting a little bit of different lists, like a little taste. When you go out for a meal and you have a tasting platter, it means you have a little bit of everything. So this list has a little bit of everything. Okay, and the cool part about this archive is that there's no rules about what's okay and what's not okay, what's acceptable and not. Lots of different people have lots of different opinions about this. And so part of the task today is actually asking you to form an opinion as well. But the cool part is there's no right or wrong answer. Whatever you think, and if you can sort of justify it, then it's 100% correct. So today you're asked to go and have a look at the Taste of Sounds of Australia link. So if you go to that link that I just clicked on our planner, it will take you to this list. And it tells you here are 25 of the sounds of Australia. They have cultural, historical, and aesthetic significance and relevance. And that sentence is really important because when you're looking at your clips today, I want you to think about whether this clip that you're listening to has some sort of cultural significance for Australia, in that it is sharing part of our culture or it helped form part of our culture about who we are as Australians. Culture is a very wide, open concept, so there's no right or wrong with that either. So it's just talking about Australian identity, that Aussie identity, and if that clip or that snippet of sound sort of represents part of our culture, part of who we are, and the different people that form Australia. Sometimes it's of historical significance and relevance. So what that means is that it's actually sharing part of our history, something important that happened in our history, something that we shouldn't forget. It could be a person that is part of our history, an event, something that's significant that has happened. And when you listen to this sound, it helps inform you about the history of Australia. And the final one is the aesthetic significance and relevance. You might not have heard that word before, but basically it refers to the beauty. Aesthetic means sort of beauty. So is it just representing something really beautiful about Australia? And one that comes to mind for me is I saw on one of these lists the Kookaburra. And so for me, like, the Kookaburra is just this beautiful thing. It might be a beautiful song, something that shares the beauty of Australia. You might look at some of these recordings and they're not clearly one or the other. They might be, for example, the Kookaburra. You might say it's aesthetic, has aesthetic relevance, but it's also cultural relevance because Australians really identify the Kookaburra as an Australian animal, and it forms a bit of our culture. So those lines can be a bit blurry, and that's completely fine. But I want you to be considering that as you're listening to the sounds. So what I want you to do is listen to, you might not listen to all 25, but listen to those ones that you're interested in. Okay, and there are 25 in total. And you'll see here there's a really huge variety, and some of them are quite modern, others not so much. But it's really important to listen to a few of them because they're really interesting. So when you're looking through, you're actually going to be asked to choose 4 of them to actually write about. Oh, here it is. the male koala grunting. So I might click on that. And if I scroll down now, I can listen to that sound by pressing play. Okay, if I click view more, there might be a little bit more information about it, but often it's not that much. Okay, so what you need to do, if I decided, okay, this sound of that male koala grunting, I really want to write about it. It's one of my top 4, or 4 that I'm interested in. Then all I need to do is record the sound, as in write it down, male koala grunting, and just explain why that might have significance for this list, this curated list of the sounds of Australia. Is it of cultural, historical, or aesthetic value, and why? Now, again, there's no right or wrong answer. This doesn't give you the answers here. So you need to think of that yourself. Okay, what is the relevance? What's the significance? Why is it important? Okay, there's really, truly no wrong answer. It's just you really thinking about it, okay, and thinking deeply about it. So if I decided to write about that one, I might, and I need to choose 3 more. Okay, there are songs, there's people speaking, there's sounds. It's really quite cool. And some of them are, relatively modern. So, I mean, this track's from 2003. So for me, it's like super modern. For you guys, it's super old, but the Hilltop Hoods were pretty cool, and they still are. So you might have a little listen to it, and then you might read the information. You might click the read more button, but there's not always a great deal more information. Same amount, and then have a think about, is it of historical, cultural, or aesthetic value and relevance, and how and why. Okay, if you're a bit stuck and you're finding that hard to write about, tell me why you liked it, why you chose it. Okay, why do you think that that's a cool sound to be included on the list? Once you have done those 4 sounds, you've chosen 4 of these sounds of the 25 iconic Taste of Australia sounds, and you've explained to me 2, 3 sentences what it's about, why you chose it, what relevance or significance it has. Then next thing you're asked to do is the interesting part. You're asked to think of 3 more sounds that you think could be added to this list of iconic sounds of Australia. And that might sound really hard, but really all I want to do is hear from you. I don't want you to think about what I would put on the list or what the museum might put on the list. I want you to tell me what you think could go on this list. I want to hear about those songs by Aussie artists that I might not know about that you think are really iconic. I want to hear about people that I might not have even heard of, or I might have, and you could include an iconic phrase or something that they've said in the past that we could include on this list. There might be a different animal. Maybe you saw the koala one, you think that's really cool, and you've thought of a different animal that you would like to include. Maybe there's a place in Australia that you think is really iconic, and you think that a recording of sound from that place could be included in this list. Maybe there's a sporting person, a sporting moment in Australian history that you think, wow, that moment, we should record that, and we should, it's already recorded. That sound should be put on this list for iconic sounds of Australia. So it's not what you think the people who made this list might put on it, it's what you think could go on it. And it doesn't matter, you're not actually finding the sound, you're just explaining it to me. So if you know of a place but you don't have the recording for that place, maybe you're thinking Uluru and you think, okay, maybe a recording of the animals coming out at dusk around Uluru could be really iconic. That's fine. You don't actually have to find the recording or make the recording, obviously. Just explain it to me. Give it a title, give me a sentence or 2 about it. Is it of cultural, historical, or aesthetic value and significance and relevance? And that's it. So you're just doing that for 3 sounds. And again, I want this to be a reflection of you. So please don't just put things on you think, oh, I want to read. I want to hear what you think is really cool about being Australian. I want to hear about the Australians you know of, the Australian music you know of, the Australian animals and places you know of. And then you're just telling me about the sound that could be included on this list. So just to cover, you're choosing 4 of these ones that are on the website and just give me a quick overview of what it is and looking at the historical, cultural, aesthetic value. Which one does it bring, or which 2 or 3 does it bring? Then you're thinking of your own 3 that you would like to add to this list. And you know what? I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys have to offer. And I hope you had a great day today, and we have a big day tomorrow as well. So enjoy.